What is love? Now, I will spare you guys my terrible singing for the baby don't hurt me part, but this is a huge topic that somebody recently asked. I wanted to go ahead and share my thoughts, my research on the topic, because God has been blowing my mind with this entire concept. So in diving into that whole love factor, really found out the question was more about intimacy. Now, intimacy is something that we're pretty much all looking for, and a lot of people really struggle to find, because it seems like relationships should be the easiest place to get that. It's certainly the most tangible, but at the same time, we're kind of told marriage doesn't fix anything, so where in the world do we get this? Well, first off, we kind of got to define it. The best definition I ever got on the subject was somebody that rephrased the word as "into me I see." It's your level of being able to see into another person, into something else, and love it, accept it, etc. That closeness, that togetherness, that is a huge component of intimacy, but the vulnerability piece is going to be paramount. So, first off, we got to talk a little bit about that love and acceptance piece. What is love? Where does that come from? First off, God is love. Clearly stated in the Bible. Awesome. Where do we figure out about love? Well, we know love because God first loved us. So, boom. As Christians, we've got a straight line to figure out how in the world love works, what it looks like, and where it's from. Now, for the entire system that we live in, the way it operates, I love going back to my favorite verse repeated several times through the Bible. Love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your strength. Ooh. Don't forget the second part, love your neighbor as yourself. Hey, we got to tie those two together, and the reason that's so important is because it builds an entire system through which we can look at the world. Of course, there's a bunch of other reasons where it's important, but love. When we go to other people for that, why does it not solve the problem? Well, we're doing things backwards. The way this entire structure that God built works is pretty simple, because I'm supposed to love my neighbor as myself, but I can't love my neighbor as myself if I don't love myself, or if I don't know how to love myself. And I can't love God with everything that I have if I don't know how to love. So I've got to go to God to get that love. First and foremost, if I don't know how to do this, if I can't manage this system, I've got to go to the source, which is God, who will actually teach us how to love him, which is super cool. So first off, we get love from God. He's going to pour into us. And don't get me wrong, this is not a pour into one cup, then into the next scenario. This is a just keep pouring and it will continue to overflow. That's how the process works. That's also a huge thing to avoid burnouts in general, is we're not pouring out, we're giving the overflow away. Because we can't hold it anyways. It's going to come out. So we start off by going to God, by getting that love from him. He shows us that we are loved. We get to see his perspective on just how amazing we are. Once we have that peace, we can then turn around and go, okay, I know I'm loved. I'm going to love myself. I'm going to make that choice to love who I am and myself the way that God made me. I can only do that if God's first shown me how in the world to do it in the first place. Otherwise, I can try, but it doesn't seem to go very well. Now, once I've got that love from God, I've learned to love myself, I'm reciprocating that love with God. Guess what? Now it's time to translate that to others. I can go ahead and love other people. I can love my neighbors just as I've been loved. That's awesome. Now let's tie that back into intimacy. Now, intimacy works really, really similarly. That being, same thing like love. We go to other people for intimacy, doesn't happen. Why in the world doesn't it solve the issue? Or worse yet, we go to other sources that are inappropriate or taboo in nature. You know where I'm going with that. And they provide false intimacy. And starting there, false intimacy is intimacy without risk. And I don't mean that the thing that you're going to or the thing that you're doing won't hurt you or everyone else in your life. Probably will. But the difference being the risk factor is rejection. And that's it. Just rejection. That's the risk factor when we're looking at intimacy. If you don't have a risk factor, if there's no possible chance of rejection, we get false intimacy. It's the same thing as paying for friends. And why that doesn't work is because it's not real. It never feels genuine because there's no risk involved. So in this, first off, we've got intimacy, which is being able to see me. We've got risk, which is the vulnerability, the ability for them to reject me or accept me, which is really what we're shooting for here. So first off, you've got, of course, strangers. There's a low level of seeing me. I can tell them a little bit about me, but they're only going to be able to accept or reject me based on the small amount I've told them. You have friends past that. Now, friends are going to be around more often, so not only do they know what I've told them and what I've been willing to share, but they see the actions I'm involved in. So they get a little bit bigger picture. There's a little bit more risk involved there because they can see a little more. Again, not huge. Of course, best friends, going to be a bigger deal. And anybody out there that's an introvert, probably a huge deal. As an extrovert who talks to far too many people, things happen. So the less friends you have, of course, the more risk involved. This also ends up being a reason why when we get hurt over and over again and we start closing ourselves off from people, we're closing ourselves off from risk, but that also means we're closing ourselves off from potential reward. So we want to be open. We want to have lots of friends. It's a beautiful thing. But there's levels past that. So we can talk about relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend, things like that. And that's, of course, again, a higher level than even a friend because they're around you more. There may be a physical aspect that's starting to be involved. That is going to bring up a higher level of risk yet again. Finally, we have what people seem to think is the height of intimacy, marriage. Now, marriage is an awesome thing, and it is going to be the highest level of intimacy that you can have with another person on this planet. Awesome. I love that. It's a beautiful picture of having all this risk and having someone willingly choose to accept you for who you are and know you more deeply than anybody else on this planet. Or at least that's how it should be. But the next level past that, guess what? You and you, just like with love. The next level is going to be you, and the reason being you are in your head 24/7. You don't get to leave and say goodnight to yourself and walk away from the situation. You still got to be there for dreamland. You get to see so much more of yourself, and because of that, there is a higher level of intimacy involved. There's a higher level of being able to see. So accepting and loving yourself ends up being a higher level of intimacy than you can even have with a spouse because they don't get to see it all. But let's not stop there. We got one more level to go. God. Just like with love, God is the ultimate. Guess what? He's also the ultimate on intimacy. God knows not only your past, but your present and your future. He knew you before you were born and still chose to accept and love you despite every dumb mistake you're going to make, despite every dumb mistake that I have made, still accepts us. The highest form of intimacy we can then generate is from our relationship with God. It's the highest level of risk too. You're talking about an eternal being that is all powerful. If he chose to reject you, oh my gosh, the eternal consequences are massive. So the risk involved is the highest level of risk we can get to. The fact that God accepts us over and over and over again is so beautiful. And that is the ultimate form of intimacy that we can reach. So if this has helped you, if you like it, go ahead and like this video, follow for more content. And if you are feeling stuck in your Christian walk, go ahead and check out my latest book, available on Amazon. Abide.